ESPN.com ranked all 32 NFL teams by their skill position group talent. The way they define skill position group is talent at the wide receiver, tight end, and running back positions. So these are pass catchers and ball carriers. Three position groups: receiver, tight end, and running back. You throw 32 teams into a blender and you pull them out. They ranked Washington 26th of 32 teams. And I want to read you the write up from Bill Barnwell here. But before I do that, Danny, 26 out of 32. They were ranked 21st going into last year, a Jahan Dotson regression ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back 2 years ago, they were ranked 22nd. So here you are with a rookie quarterback, and Barnwell is saying this is the worst skill position group they've had in 3 years around a quarterback.
So I'd have had them a few spots higher, but I think the point remains. They're in a bucket of not that good. We know some of the names. That doesn't matter. Just because you know the names doesn't make them good players. There are, I sort of did the exercise informally when I was thinking about it, running names through my mind of, 15, 16, 18 teams I'd rather have their skill guys over Washington's. I'm more of a believer in Austin Eckler as an outlet, as a pass catcher. I'm optimistic and hopeful that Ben Sinnott turns into a multifaceted Kyle Juszczyk-ian, if that's even a word, type weapon. But what are we really talking about? It's not like a 1,000-yard player, out of an offense here. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the drum I've been beating all offseason is they didn't do enough here. They don't see a need where I see a dire, desperate, emergency, house on fire type need there and at the tackle positions. And that's obviously this article isn't about the tackle, but that's kind of been my theme here this offseason.
Yeah, it sounds like we're simpatico here because I also would have Washington ranked higher than 26, which is to say closer to 20. But quibbling over where they rank probably is not as valuable as having a discussion about whether or not they've done enough for Jayden Daniels, whether or not they should be in the business of doing more, which relates to the ongoing dialogue we're having about Brandon Ayuk and maybe trading for a wide receiver. But again, by year, 2022, they ranked 22nd in this exercise. 2023, they ranked 21st, slight improvement. And now they've dropped to 26. So this is what they wrote. We could break it up here and discuss each part. But this is Barnwell. We're firmly in the tier of teams that have one commanding wide receiver and a shrug of the shoulders for everything else behind that wide out on the roster, which is fair, I think.
Yep.
In Washington, the main man is Terry McLaurin, who has spent his entire career in quarterback hell. If he had racked up 91 receiving yards as a rookie, more than he did, he would be able to boast 5 consecutive 1,000-yard campaigns while catching passes from 10 different quarterbacks. Now, he didn't mention this, but McLaurin missed a couple games as a rookie, or else he would have blown past that number. As bad as Commanders' passers have been over his career, they posted a 41.1 QBR with their star wide receiver on the field, and staggeringly 30.4 QBR when he doesn't play. That is stark.
Gosh.
And man, is that a nice stat for Terry McLaurin's agent to keep nearby. And his value to this team's been astronomical.
Yeah, there's no way around that. That feels kind of what it's like. I didn't have that data obviously right in front of me, but good heavens, there's a drop off when he's not getting the football.
And it's not like he's playing with good quarterbacks.
Right.
And I think that was the point that Barnwell was making. He goes on to write, I'm willing to believe McLaurin is a top 15 receiver in a vacuum, but there isn't much around him. Jahan Dotson, a first rounder in 2022, failed to build upon his rookie campaign and had just 158 receiving yards in 8 games during the second half of the season. By the way, that is crazy bad production.
Yep.
We talk about Jahan Dotson a lot, but that hits you like a brick to the face. Final 8 games of the season, 158 yards for him. Last year is hard to do. Curtis Samuel departed, was replaced by rookie Luke McCaffrey. Logan Thomas has been swapped out with 33-year-old Zach Ertz, who was a catch-and-fall guy last season.
That's that's mean, but that's a pretty good line.
That's a funny way to zing a player inadvertently. Catch and fall. Basically, he's suggesting, I don't think you need me to explain it to you, he's not going to do anything after the catch.
Not explosive.
Not helping you a whole lot after he catches the football. Then he finally says, number 2 overall pick, Jayden Daniels, will need McCaffrey or rookie tight end Ben Sinnott to grow into a second option behind McLaurin, which we've talked a lot about. Final paragraph here. There's more to like at running back. Second-year starter Brian Robinson generated a solid 38 rush yards over expected and 5 first downs over expected behind a middling line in Eric Bieniemy's pass-happy scheme. So he's high on Robinson, who analytically had a good year. He's an effective outside zone runner who might not have the burst to post gaudy numbers in terms of yards per carry. While free agent signing Austin Eckler disappointed in his final season with the Chargers, he should still be an effective receiver and pass blocker when given an opportunity. So that's how he sizes up Washington's, in his opinion, bottom 6 skill group around Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I echo the sentiments. And again, I'd have had them a couple spots higher because I think I'm higher on Eckler. And I may be more hopeful that somebody in that Ertz, Sinnott, I don't know, Luke McCaffrey group steps up and is better than maybe the perception. But the whole point is the only guy with any bona fides in the receiving core is McLaurin.
So let's go veterans first real quick.
Yep.
So separate McLaurin, who's the alpha, and the stud.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, he said he's top 15-ish. That's what we say all the time.
Yep.
Right? He's right around the top 15 in the NFL. So you know what you're going to get out of Terry McLaurin. You put him in his own category. As far as the veterans go, the guy that we debate, and I know you're down on, and I'm still hopeful for, is Jahan Dotson. So that in and of itself is another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the group is kind of going to swing the pendulum here in some ways. Zach Ertz, what is he? I mean, he referred to him as a catch and fall guy. There was a time, nobody knows this better than fans in D.C., he used to chew Washington up.
We saw plenty.
Pretty sure he caught 16 balls in a game against the Jim Haslett coached Washington team at one point early in his career. I don't know what Zach Ertz is anymore. If he still has some tread left on the tires, he could actually be a huge help to them. But if he's catch and fall, if he's just kind of a year older Logan Thomas, well, then you're in a pretty bad spot in terms of having him turn into a playmaker.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the hope is that he's there to provide occasional help. I don't think you can target him 7-8 times a game like this is 5-6 years ago. I don't think that would be smart for anybody. This should be a guy that might have a good game a month, right? And the otherwise is sort of a mentor, blocker, helpful, implement the offense with his experience with Kingsbury, et cetera.
He'll be an exceptional leader, just like Logan Thomas was. He'll be a much better blocker than Logan Thomas, who was a quarterback before he was a tight end. As a receiver, do you think he'll be better, worse, or about the same as Logan Thomas a year ago?
Worse. Thomas had 55 catches. I don't think he has 55 catches.
Okay, but I'm not talking about the numbers because they threw it 9 million times. I guess what I'm saying is effectiveness, like the ability to make a catch or go up the ladder and get a ball or do something after the reception. Better, worse, or about the same?
About the same.
I think so, too. I think it's kind of Logan Thomas-y in it.
Yep.
Now, if you're better as a blocker, he will be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give a lot as a leader, which I thought it was a smart signing. Like, I like.
Oh, me too. No problem with it. It was cheap. Didn't hurt you.
But it might not help improve your standing on this metric,
right?
Where we're trying to figure out how good your group is. Next veteran is Eckler. Is Eckler going to get more carries than Brian Robinson?
No.
I don't think so either. Is Eckler still going to be dynamic as a receiver? I think he will.
My answer is yes. And again, everybody's looking at this drop-off that he had rushing the ball last year. If someone else in that Chargers backfield had taken the rock and gone for 4.5 a pop while Eckler's in the mid threes, I go, he's lost a step. Nobody could run the ball worth a damn there last year. He's still explosive, still pretty good as a receiver. The metrics point to that. I think this was a fluky, bad running game situation for a team that's going to, that needed an overhaul, and they got one. I think he could still play.
I don't remember if it was yards over expected as a receiver or like missed tackles forced, but he was still top 5 after the catch among running backs last year in a couple of those kind of open field elusiveness type categories, which tells me he's got some wiggle left. Do you think he'll still be dynamic as a rusher?
What's the bar for dynamic? I know I'm being annoying.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
so my answer is yes.
Okay, I'm going to say no to that. I don't think he's going to be bad.
He's not ripping off 5.5 a carry like he was a couple years ago, I don't think.
Right. If his role is Chris Thompson under Jay Gruden, shotgun, getting carries, outside zone, hitting the edge, all that stuff, I think he will not be as dynamic or prolific or kind of, as much a weapon as like Thompson was back then, where he had that burst and that speed. I don't see it that way. But I think to just throw him in there at the end and say, and they have Austin Eckler, I think he'll give him a lot more than that. And then there's the complete crapshoot of, and the guessing that has to be done on Ben Sinnott, who I'm very hopeful for. I think he could have a strong rookie season, and Luke McCaffrey. I think there's a better chance. Like if one of those guys this year has a big rookie season, to me, there's a better chance it's Sinnott, who you can move around all over the place, who kind of flashed more often for longer in terms of his, resume in a big conference than McCaffrey. I'm still betting on those bloodlines, and I'm cool with the pick. But to me, Sinnott would be the guy if somebody really helps them And what he's saying here is they need a second option behind McLaurin from some of the youth. I would say Sinnott would be the guy to come on behind McLaurin and Dotson.
Yeah, I'm optimistic and hopeful about Sinnott. I don't know exactly what that looks like, though. Again, does it manifest itself in on one play he's a lead blocker on some sort of, on a wham play? Is he, out of the backfield 3 or 4 times a game? Is he, kind of lining up a tight end in certain spots? What does that translate to stat wise? I think he's a versatile, helpful weapon, but I don't know that he's your second leading receiver in the pass game. You understand the distinction? Like, that's the part I just don't know. I like that they reached on him. I like that they saw something nobody else did, and he could fit something that they want to do, and that's great. But I don't know how that manifests. In other words, is he a 100 target guy? No. Is he a 75 target guy? Okay. Well, what does that mean? Is it all within 5-7 yards line of scrimmage? Is he coming out of the backfield? Like, I don't know. I'm into it, but I don't know how it actually manifests.
They signed a couple guys who have been Pro Bowl types for a long time, and then drafted a couple players in the top 100, and yet in this ranking they fell several spots.